How you doing? Excellent. Welcome to ADE. Welcome to Native Sessions at ADE. My name's Tony Wachiku. I'm a producer, DJ and educator based in London. Really happy to be in Amsterdam. Really upset that they're bringing off my jumpers, but that's another story. So you're here for the Exploring STEMs panel. We've got a fantastic hour and a half for you. But to kick things off, we have Eric Goldstein, product specialist, who's going to talk you through and demonstrate to you the power of STEMs. Enjoy.
Hello. Thanks, Tony. Before I start, can you give him a hand because it's his birthday today? Happy birthday, Tony. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm glad to talk about STEMs to you guys here. Maybe some of you have heard something of it already, maybe some haven't, so I thought I'd just give you a quick roundup of what STEMs is, just really top level. It's an open multi-track file format, which means it functions. It's a file that functions as a container where you put in audio tracks. You have 4 different audio tracks in there in one master file. And then you put it into a program that understands the stems, and then you can separate these. So a producer or a label can just create a stem file that way, so you group your tracks in your DAW, bounce them out, and put it into one single file, which is very handy because you can play it on your phone, you can play it on iTunes, you can upload it somewhere, have people streaming it. But then when you put it into the DJ software, which is Traktor at the moment, but we hope that other DJ softwares also have stems or open up to stems in the future. So if you put it into a DJ software like this, you get the whole access to the single files in there. The way how it works in Traktor is the following. I'm gonna play a little bit, talk you through how I can control the stems here on my controllers, and you're gonna see my hands up on the video screen. Yeah. And I'm gonna use the Traktor Control S5, and I'm also gonna use the Traktor Control D2 just to show you like what I can do with the stems on here really quickly. So I just start with this track, and then I talk you through it. Drop your E's, drop your E's, drop your ego. So right now I have a track running here. Maybe I should turn off the filter on the drums. Let me breathe out. So the track is running in Traktor. And as you can see, I have a display which looks a bit different. I don't see a whole waveform. It doesn't look like this. I don't see this big waveform running like that. I see something which looks a bit more like this. So I see 4 stems, and I see exactly what is going to happen within the next couple of beats. And I can see my drum track up here, the red one. Then I see my bass track, which is the pinkish purple one. Then I have the synth here on the green, and I have my vocals on the yellow track. And if you look at the controllers, they are built up in the way as I can read it on the display. So here where it says drums, I have a control over here or over there. I have controls for the bass right here, controls for the synths here, and controls for the vocals right there. Basically it works like a surgeon kind of EQ, because instead of cutting a frequency band and then cutting all the sounds in this one frequency spectrum, you cut a sound that is in there really, really precisely. So let me just mute the drums. So now the drums are muted. You can see they're still running up here, but I just turned them off. Or maybe I want to have the vocals. So I get an instant a cappella track just running like this. Listen to the a cappellas a little bit. And then maybe jump back to another part in the track. I can not only mute them or change the volume of the stems, I can also add effects to the stems. Usually if I add effects in Traktor to a track, it sounds a little bit like this. So I have the effects unit set up to this track, and I'm just gonna add a reverb to the whole track right now. So you heard it sounded pretty full because I had the reverb on the whole track. But I also have the possibility to choose which stem is affected by my effects. So I only want to have the vocals affected by the reverb. So let me jump to a part with the vocals. So you can hear I only have the reverb now on my vocal stem. And I don't affect the other parts of my track. I'm also going to show this to you in a second when I mix with the stems. Another thing that I can do is I can add filters to my stems. Like I said, when I started out with the demo, you couldn't hear my drum track because I accidentally still had the filter on. I have a filter option for each stem. Just turn on the filter, and then I filter the drums, for example, with a high pass, low pass. So now it's high pass and low pass. You can do the same with the vocals. And just play around with this and just make it fitting to my mix or make it fitting to what I want to hear. So now let's just try to mix something. I do a quick routine and then I go over it after I'm done. And I'm not using the EQ for this one. I'm just mixing with stems and I'm trying to change the genre a little bit. So let's see if this works out.
Put your A's up. Let me go. Drop your ego.
Alright, so this was just playing around with the stems a little bit. So maybe you saw that I loaded up another track, and maybe you saw what I did, but I just go over it just really quickly so you know what I've done exactly. First off, I had this track running here, which I used as my intro track, and I had a hot cue set up on this side. So what I did was just timing this track over here with its drums, the drum stem, to just hit right after the drop of this track over here. So instead of going back into the 4/4 pattern, I just put this aim and break over it, while I had still the bass lines and the vocals running on this side. But I took out the drums, and then I added the drums back in, but filtered. So I only had the hi-hats of this track adding up to it, so I kept the groove going a little bit. And then I added the bass line of this track as well, the sub. And then slowly at one point over here, the synthesizer started to come in as well, which is right here. And then I had the track running. Once this track was running completely, I loaded up another one over here, where I actually just played around with the vocals. So you can see I muted everything on this side, but I still had this vocal stem running.
Can you go? How low can you go? Can you go? How low can you go?
And then I played with this vocal and had a beat masher on top. So this track was completely affected by the beat masher, and I could do something like. And just add the vocal on top and have some fun with it. And then I did the mix. This track was running, I introduced the vocals of this track, and then I could go over to this track again and do my mix out again into the track. So this is basically how stems work. And you see, I didn't use the EQ. You can still use the EQ on top, of course, But the really powerful feature of stems is that you can just exchange the different elements that you have in a track and just mix with them in a really, really precise way and in a really new way. And I can assure you it's a lot of fun, and I'm not saying this because I'm standing up here and I work for Native Instruments. It's because I believe in it, and it's really a lot of fun, and it's a great way to play. And we're gonna explore the format a little bit more, talk about how it might develop, maybe what we've done with it. But I think I give over to you, Tony, yeah?
Thank you. Give it for Eric.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, I'm going to invite my panel, or our panel, to take a seat. Take a seat, everybody. Give it up for our panel people, who will introduce themselves shortly. Cool. Just let them get familiar with each other, you know. So. Cool. Okay, no place for me, but that's okay. I'll stand. It's okay. It's all right. So, first of all, yeah, give up for our panel again, man. This is really, really nice. Really, really nice. So, I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with you, Ronnie.
Hello, my name is Ronnie Krieger. I'm the Director of Content for Native Instruments and basically responsible for most of the repertoire so far being released in stems format.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I work for a digital distributor called Fuga. I was invited here today by Ronnie to explore what STEM's been about and possibly ask a few questions I have myself and learn more about the participation of the distributor side also in this interesting journey.
Cool.
Okay, hi. We are Casa Disco, Patrick and Frederick. We are here because of our artist side, and also we are talking about the label side. We also run 2 labels.
Yeah, we're running KD Music and KD Raw, and yeah, that's why here we are selling stems.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
I'm Carl Cox, and I'm a stems user. I love it. It's amazing.
Oh, that's why you're here.
Hi, I'm Edwin Oosterwal. I run 2 labels, Rejected and Green, together with Joris Voorn, and I'm also here mainly as a stems seller.
Hi, my name is Ian Golden. Along with being a DJ for the last 20 years, I started the website DJ Tech Tools, which is devoted to empowering and helping people, you know, find their way through music technology and really enjoy this stuff, not just, you know, use it, but really enjoy it and play with it.
Cool. So I guess starting with you, Ian, how has your experience been with stems so far? Stems has been out for maybe a couple of months now. Still a new format, but how has it been for you?
Stems has been really cool for me, particularly because I like to program drums live in my sets. I really want to bring what I do in the studio on stage, and that's really tough if, you know, the track is super full with drums and there's not room for me. Especially with the amount of mastering that everyone's doing on their tracks, there's not a lot of headroom. There's not a lot of dynamic range to add a full drum section. So I'm doing a lot of instrumentals with my own programmed drums underneath, which gives me and my sets more dynamic range and more of an evolution. So I'm not kind of fighting with the tracks, I'm supporting them. So in that sense, I've really enjoyed the format.
Cool. How's it been as a retailer?
I don't know yet, to be honest.
Okay.
I haven't seen any numbers yet, but I think it's just a very interesting concept. I mean, just look what the guy did with it.
Yep.
And for us as a label, it's just another way to make some money. You know, it's just another format, and that's why we're supporting it. I think it's just another new thing.
So in terms of your roster, for example, is it your job to kind of get them to make a master as well as a stems master?
Yeah, well, I'm just for new releases we're doing now as stems, and of course I'm kind of trying to get our back catalog for stems as well, which is a bit hard because we've been releasing music for 10 years, so it's hard to get all the stems. And some artists, they're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll send you the stems, and then a month later you still didn't get them. So it's for artists it's another thing to do, but it's definitely something that I think it's a good thing.
Cool. Next up. So you got the stems quite early on, didn't you?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to start off with the S8 and a year and a half ago now, and I was basically really excited just to use the mixer on its own to begin with. The whole stems elements to it was something which came in eventually. I mean, I was more or less shown a remix version of what you could use with the unit to begin with, and I was kind of happy with that. But one of the things with the remix, you got to basically create what you want to use, and then make that your own. So that's kind of time consuming, good, fun, but kind of time consuming. But when the stems came about, I thought, well, this is fantastic, because all my favourite records I can actually remix live, apart from whatever else I'm doing when I'm DJing, and add another element to what my DJing craft is. So I was very excited by that, and when I was shown how stems was, I was injected. That was it. I'm in. Give me as many stems as possible. Just load me up, because I need more stems, please. Try and producers make stems, because if I've got them, I'm gonna play them. That's the thing about it. It's really, really exciting. That today for me, I mean, I've got hairs on my shoulder. They were standing up watching, see what you was doing. It was unbelievable. Nothing like that at the moment on the market comes anywhere close to what that's actually like. And when I actually played stems for the first time, Mike Henderson was standing behind me, and he wasn't sure if I was going to use them. He showed me how to use stems on the Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday night I was on them. And when I was playing stems, A, the sound was better. B, my creativity as a DJ went up through the roof. I was so excited to be dropping things out, putting things in, looping, creating rhythms on certain elements of percussion and everything, that I run out of records and stems to play. At that time, I only had about, I don't know, 10 tracks. I mean, I think 5 of them were yours, I think, because you got stems really early. So Kaiser Disco, bang, straight in. But meanwhile, I was having so much fun, and the people reacted to what I was doing based on the creativity of it. So this is no fad. This is the beginning of something really new, really exciting, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Cool. So you guys, how's it been for you?
So we started quite early with the stems, I think. We did all the Traktor remix files before already, because we liked them as well. And so there was not such a big question for us if we want to do that or not. So we just saw that it's a very creative way to play for DJs, and yeah, we are always open for something like that. And so we said, yes, definitely we want to do that.
And was there much of a learning curve, going from, using, 2-track, digital files to using stems in terms of from production and from performance?
Yeah, we are from the side from production, we are from the side from the label and from DJing, so all came together. And of course we tried it and we heard about it. First, of course, as DJs and as artists. Then as a producer, for me, I tried this. There's a kind of program, it's called a Stem Creator. It's very easy to use, and you just have to bounce the whole tracks down to 4 single tracks, and then you can put it in the creator. And yeah, after that, you got the stem package, so that's very easy.
So in terms of, talking to labels about creating stems, was it your responsibility as a distributor, saying, look, hey guys, there's this new opportunity, go for it? Or did they come to you and say, look, there's this amazing format, can we, how did it work?
I would definitely say the latter. We didn't really have time to do it the other way around, because the labels were maybe even approached before we were, a lot of key labels that we have are also imprints of very respected artists, and they've been, I guess, in touch with Ronnie from the beginning, and that's the way things went. We learned about stems from Ronnie, but also from a lot of labels that were very excited, and we're just hearing, all the different approaches and experiences, and taking all of that in to then start building for our labels. Yeah.
Now on to Ronnie, because so the implementation of stems. Can you talk us through what that was like? Because obviously it's a new audio format. In some respects, it's it's just a digital file and can be played obviously across iTunes or whatever digital platform, but as we know, it's a new format, it's a new implementation, a new approach to DJing performance. How has it been selling it into, how's it been selling it in?
Well, I mean, I have to go back a little a while ago.
Please
because
do.
Obviously, there's a long standing relationship between Native Instruments and Beatport. They've been partners since the very early days of Beatport, and at the time, Native Instruments brought me to Beatport, and I became the VP of music. So in the early years, I've been responsible for all of the label relationships, etc., etc. And even 10 years ago, stems was a topic. It was even called stems. And so we were discussing the idea what to do, and we quickly realized the technology wasn't there, the controllers weren't there, the mindset of producers wasn't there to actually allow the holy grail of their productions to be out there. So this was put on ice for many years until the market catched up. And then we did something that Carl hinted on called the Traktor Remix Sets, which we started in 2012, and it was an invite-only process where every week we would have one release of a record label putting out something in a Traktor Remix Set format. And that was kind of like our test phase, our proof of concept. This is, we wanted to test out, is there a demand for it? Is it interesting for DJs? Are there artists interested to put out content? So we did that period for quite a while to see, is there a market? But like Carl said, the mindset of a lot of DJs is there are a few explorers who really want to go wild and basically reconstruct the track from scratch on the fly. But it's very time consuming because you have no way to fall back to the original track. You basically have to recreate everything on the fly. And very few DJs actually like the format enough to support it. But we still could prove that there's a demand and an interest in the market and that record labels could actually make some money with it. Edwin has been one of the guys supporting it early on. The Kaiser Disco releases early on have been releasing in the Traktor Remix Set format. So we knew that the market was probably ready, and then we started to talk about it further at the end of last year and started to develop. But considering that it's actually an idea that's a decade old, everything moved rather quickly from the WMC announcement to the development of the file format and everything. And it's quite difficult for the entire industry to catch up with an entirely new format because it was relatively easy to gather some music and put it out in the format, but basically the entire infrastructure for retail stores, for download stores, for distributors is set up in a completely different routine where it's all based on a WAV source file and everything is generated from that WAV source file. We are really interrupting that process now with an entirely new format. Disrupting. And so, basically everyone now has to catch up. So it will take a while. We're still early stages. The format just launched in August, and it will still take a while for all the retailers to have the full support of it, for the distributors to be able to submit this. But Fuga is basically one of the distributors really being interested early on and committing to it and working on it, etc., etc. And more distributors now follow that. Hopefully in early 2016, most of the download shops, most of the distributors will be able to support the file format like they would do with any regular release. And I'm personally very, very pleased with where stems are today. There's about 1,000 stem tracks available right now, which is a good starting point, I think, for everyone.
And it's 3 months, right? So.
And the launch was just beginning of August, and more record labels are interested. Once we released the Stem Creator tool, thousands of people have been interested to download the file, to experiment with it. So I'm really looking forward to see what's happening. And the most interesting part for me personally is the fact that it's completely open. Not only would I like to see Pioneer and the big guys to support this, but I'm even more excited about that 17-year-old kid that sits somewhere in his basement and comes up with that crazy idea to build some rocket chip looking like controller that's done with Kickstarter or something, because it's open. Everyone is open to do something with it. The source code is there. You can implement it. You can write software for it. You can do hardware, and that's why this whole thing is so amazing for me, because I'm sure there will be tons of things soon that we can't even think about right now.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask you guys. So to our colleagues or friends or curious fanboys at the beginning, what have been the main kind of talking points of discussion amongst your peers and with the new format? Just ask any of you. Do you have?
Yeah, for sure. There was. We was very excited to see the STEM format, and I really loved it from the first sight. But we also was a little bit worried about the copyright thing, which everybody is for sure. But
as in the fact that because there are individual files and they're all isolated.
Exactly. Yes. You can.
It's easier to sample something right now. You only need the vocals. Yeah, you got them. At the end, it's still illegal, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. Exactly, and that was the reason for us that we said, okay, we're gonna try this out. we Native gave us the opportunity to sell the Traktor files into stems. They created them, and so we sell the first stems now, and also doing it from the artist side. It's for us. It's very important that we not only sell MP3 or WAV, but we also have the option to sell the release as stems. So all the releases we are assigned to Drumcode or Tronic Music or Suara, we also offer as stems now, and that's very important for us. So.
Anybody else? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, as a DJ for many years, obviously we started off with vinyl and turntables, of course. We couldn't do that with any of that stuff. I mean, I tried as much as I could to emulate remixing with 3 turntables, and that worked for me for a while. And then, Traktor came out and it put pay to that. So, so now, you know, we have to follow the path of creativity, technology, and where we're at right now. I mean, I've been using Traktor for many years, and to still see that we still want to push the envelope of creation is unbelievable. And to actually work with producers and DJs I mean, you know, you're not going to get the music unless the producer gives you the tracks first. So that's really good on 2-track, but now you have the ability to have that track that you can break down and then you can create something from that is absolutely amazing as a format. And me being as old as I am, I'm so excited by it still, to see that we're still pushing the envelope even further now by what we can do, which is phenomenal. So as a DJ that's been around for so long, I'm still excited even more so now that this is here. So really what we do need is more music, more people coming to the table, people not being too worried about what happens with copyright, because to be honest, we've been sampled for years. I mean, we're only worrying about it now. I mean, we've gone past worrying, because whatever tracks are you giving me, I'm going to remix them. And it's going to go out to millions of people worldwide. I mean, my radio show, Global, goes out to over 27 million people every year. Every week, sorry. So when I play at Space, and I make a recording of that, and I do a stems pass with your music, that many people get to hear your music in that way, basically remixed by myself. So I think that's quite honourable, and also it's a tip to your hat based on that you've allowed us to use that format. So I wouldn't be too scared about it. But also, if you've got old records that have been sitting around for so long, and you have the ability to turn them into stems, your record won't sound old anymore, because you better pull them out and remix them into something brand new as a format. So we're not even just talking about new music, we're talking about music we can get our hands on, which has been sitting around for years. So this whole evolution is only the beginning of where we're at right now, and I think that's quite exciting.
And what's your take on that as a owner?
Well, no, I fully agree with what Carl's saying. Like, we've been sampling, like our music is based on sampling, so why make it an issue now? And as a label, it's just another way to make, like I said before, it's another way to make some money, and it's already hard as a label to make money nowadays, and it's just another platform. So yeah, I'm just really welcoming it.
So anyone that's worried about sampling concerns, it's not really an issue for this. It's just a format that's available and people can embrace it, right?
Yeah.
Same way they can embrace recording a WAV or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Ian, you've got something to say.
I have a question for Edwin. I asked him a few questions earlier, and I want to repeat them because I thought they were kind of insightful. I mean, clearly DJs love the format. Clearly labels are going to love the format. But my question is really about the artists. As Carl said, like, we need more music. So if artists aren't willing to put their music in this format, then we're dead in the water, because we need music and we need good music. So my question for you is, what kind of feedback have you gotten from artists in terms of their unwillingness to go with this format? In particular, I'm thinking about the mix challenge. So some artists might not want to hear Carl's interpretation of their song. Which, you know, I agree with personally, but artistically some feel like, look, this is the way I made the song. I want it to be heard that way. I don't want to hear the bass line out of it. So I wonder, what feedback have you gotten from artists for those of who did not want to participate in this format?
Well, I didn't have anybody that didn't want to participate. It was more like, it was not a thing they had to do. They had to create the stems. It was just like more work for them. So it wasn't necessarily about like, oh, I don't want to do it, that they're scared for their parts to be out there or something. It wasn't really about that. It was more just another thing they have to do.
Was that like the majority? Was that the majority of people that wouldn't do it because it was too much work, or a minority? I'm wondering how much of an obstacle that is for people to actually put out music.
Well, I think we only had our first stems release in August, I think, and we haven't done like I think maybe 4 releases now or something. So, and I'm working on our back catalog now. It's a lot of work, like I said before, to get all the releases, and because we've been doing release for like 10 years almost. So, and I'm working on it now to getting all the back catalog into stems, but I haven't run into a lot of problems yet.
And what does that look like? Obviously, every artist has file management is different, right? So, talk us through some of the. Do you have any case studies for us in terms of putting
What's that?
together? Do you have any kind of case studies that you can share with us in terms of getting the back catalog up to stems format?
Well, like I said, I'm working on it now, and for example, Joris Voorn, he's like a very busy artist, so if I ask him for the stems, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll send them, and then like a month later, I still don't have the stems, and but it's just more like people are really busy in the scene, like, you know, and it's just, like I said, it's another thing for them to do, so that's the main thing, just like it's a time issue, but for example, like the guys from Geister Disco are saying now, it's like, I think for them it's just part of their production process now, because it's a new format that's out there. So when they release, like when they submit a release, for example, to Suara or something, they just be like, okay, here you've got the release and here you've got the stems, and there you go. I imagine.
So from now moving forward, it's just a case of just exporting a master, exporting a stems version in an ideal world, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. You can take the stage if you want.
So I'm curious, because you're playing with stems a lot. This is for all the producers out there. How many people are producers in the room? Awesome. So wouldn't you be curious what format you would, Carl would like your music in? So I'm wondering, because you can put, you've got 4 slots. In theory, you could put the bass in one, the drums in another, vocals in another, synth in another. You can do whatever you want. But I'm wondering, from your experience, was there a format that's the most fun to play in? Because it's kind of an open territory, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I'm always very creative when even if I'm just on 2 channels and using just 2 players, I try and be as creative as much as possible with just that. Now with stems, you have the ability to even still play normally like I do with just 2 channels, and have another 2 channels with 4 channels on each side to basically remix whatever you decide to do at that particular time, and it could be anything. You know what I mean? You could do Bonnie Tyler with anybody, with Goldie on anything. You can. It all depends how far you want to go. Now
that's a mix, man.
But with stems, I mean, if you had them, you could do it. That's the thing about it. There's no real boundaries to it. I really. I'm only scratching the surface of this whole thing right now, and by scratching it, people have already stood up to see what the hell I'm doing now with these 8 extra channels. Because before, when I first got the unit, those 8 extra channels were just really nice looking channels with nice lights on it, and that's what it. Now you can mute, push to the channel that does bass, that does some percussion, and you can then throw something on the 2-track and. Before with the Traktor many years ago, you just kind of stared at the laptop and just went, push, okay, next track, okay, yeah, I'm working, I'm on Skype, okay, and that was it. Now you don't have to worry about it because everything you can see, which is on the board, and you get busy, you get into it, and the more you get busy, get into it, and the crowd react to by what you're creating, that's really exciting, and it's coming from a stems format, which is incredible. So. For me, I'm set alight on this. Really, I never thought in my life at this point that something could come in which is this creative and this exciting. So, I really can't wait to get back out. I mean, on Friday I'm playing at Gasalda, and believe me, at least 60% of my set will be stems.
Cool. And at that point, I want to ask you guys if you've got any pressing questions. If you do, we have a microphone for you. Just wait for the microphone to come in front of you and say your thing.
So the track list, Carl, is going to be huge. Your track list. There can be 200 tracks in 1 hour because you're mixing 4 decks, whatever.
Yeah, but it's been the same all the time. It's been never changed. It's just now we have a new format. That's we're able to push the envelope of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the idea is not to overcomplicate what I already do. in a sense of mixing one record into another one and putting something else on top of that and then putting effects on top of this. The idea is that that track that you have in the stems format, already you take the bass out and you've already done something. And you loop that, keep that, you go, okay, that's a really good rhythm. Let's find something else I can put on top of that. So even though in the next 2 or 3 records time, you don't know what it is, great.
So, also, you're going to listen to music differently because you might hear a track and you think, I don't like the synth, but I like the bass. So you're going to use it in another track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you find something from Blancmange or for something from New Order or anything else like that, and you find something in that you can remix and you can put it into stems to be remix, then that basically brings a whole new dimension to what you're doing as a DJ. You're not locked into the Beatport top 10. You're not locked into the latest records that you just obtained and you want to play them now. You can actually go back a little bit and find something that was already amazing and basically interpret into what you believe you can basically show people by the new format that we have, which basically drives the music forward. It's all about the music at the end of the day, but this gives you the ability to be who you are as a DJ and how creative you can be as a DJ that is producing and creating something live.
So you'll have your favorite percussionist producers as well, and you're going to take the tracks, the stems from them, and you're going to say, that's the best bass designer. So I'm going to whatever stems are coming out from them, I want them because maybe the rest of the sound is shit. But I like the percussion anyway.
Yeah, this is pretty cool, but it's breaking it down too hard. I mean, we're talking about a record on stems, and most of those elements and parts in stems work anyway in the record. So you're just finding elements or parts which you saw earlier of what you can do with just that on its own. I mean, you can dance to that, what you did with only 2 4-bar loops by what you created for half an hour. Still one record. Wasn't anything else. But that's what you can do. That's phenomenal. So choose 10 and then, in an hour you got set.
Wow. Yeah. Anybody else?
Cool, thank you. Next question. Go right in the back. Yeah. While we're waiting for that question, you talked about Blancmange and you talked about New Order. Obviously, what would be fantastic is there was a new wave of reissues. Do you know what I mean, in stems format? So if we had, for example, obviously Blue Monday or something like that, stems, just the drums alone would be obviously. Oh, the bass line, yeah, sure. Is there any tracks you were kind of, now you've all had some experience with stems? What track would you like to see in stems format? Each of you.
Well, I'm going to say Strings Alive.
Okay, cool. Strings Alive. Strings Alive, cool. Any other takers? Yeah. Ian, what do you think? What would you like to see? Microphone, please.
Some of Richie Houghton's older stuff, so I could just use like the snare patterns and bring those in and out. That'd be cool.
Cool. Cars of Disco, guys, what would you like to see?
So I really don't know at the moment. There are so many good tracks out there. I think I have to think about that for quite more.
For sure, all the Strictly Rhythm stuff from the early days. Yeah. For sure, all the defected stuff is also very nice. So you have a lot of vocals and great bass lines, great melodies to use. Then I think then it's unbelievable to check out the tracks which you can create. Yeah.
Sarah, what would you like to see?
It's very difficult for me to.
I know, everyone's on the spot. That's why we're here.
Please do answer for me. We have the same musical taste.
Well, I'm not a DJ myself either, so
but you're a fan. You're a fan. You're a fan.
I mean,
so.
anything from Joy Division would be lovely, or like I think the most interesting part for me would actually be when this opens up to new music genres. I mean, we're here for dance music. We're all playing dance music, and all of that is great, and it's a fantastic starting point. But I think it really becomes interesting when you have Miles Davis, when you have interesting funk and soul, when you have Depeche Mode, when you have New Order, when you have other types of music released in the stem format, and you may only want to have the jazz percussion, or you just want to have the bass line of a famous pop track or whatever. But when you can actually blend all these elements together, that's, I think, going to be a significant step forward for the dance movement. And I think already it's going to happen with stems because, I'm also in my 40s. I've been to a couple of clubs for a while, and I'm not going to say everything gets a little bit more boring, but I think this industry and DJs in particular can use a a wave of revitalizing what they do and become a little bit more fresh and interesting. And I think stems can exactly do that through the fun factor of it. I think, similar to, I think everyone who gets their hands on stems, it's just, there's no learning curve. You can get started right away. There's not really a lot that you have to understand, and you can play around. And also what I often don't like about DJs who have to travel a lot, I do understand it from a practical point of view, but very often you know your tracks, and you know you're mixing this first, and then this bass line goes well with this track or whatever. So it can become quite planned, and if you do see a set of a DJ, it might be quite similar, the same set in 4 different clubs. I think when you start playing with stems, and all of a sudden you have 4 decks of 4 stems each, I don't think any DJ will literally be able to remember any kind of combination that he's done the night before.
Carl might. Yeah.
Carl might, but I think naturally you'll experiment more, you'll try more, and things will be different every single night, and that I think would be good for the quality of DJ sets, because it's more exciting. If you follow a DJ, you see him on Friday, and on Saturday it might actually be already very different on Saturday. So that's what I'm looking for.
Question in the back there.
Yeah, just wondering how would a mastering engineer go about bringing the stems to commercial level? Because stems essentially are like in the mix, I suppose, and a master is a master, but the stems need to be on commercial levels, right?
So you guys have used a stem creator tool. Can you talk us through the process of what's?
So it's like that in this stem creator, you got the finished master track, and then you put these 4 single tracks into it, and you have to master them before a little bit. In the stem creator track, there's a compressor and a limiter in it, and you can higher the volume a little bit, and you can make the 4 stems sound like the original ones, very, very close, or probably it's like the same sound in it. So it's very professional then, and you won't hear different, I think, when you play the stems or if you play the master track. So it's kind of the same.
All right, so it will be up to the artist himself to master the stems before sending it in.
Yeah, the producer has to master them before.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
so
thank
it's
you.
the same like mastering the
Ian, yeah. So Ian has something.
Like, hypothetically, I have to call bullshit, but objectively, I want to ask Carl, because you're playing big rooms. Hypothetically, bullshit. There's no way that Native Instruments stem creator compressor is going to emulate like Stefan Mueller's mastering chain. There's just no way.
Yeah. But is it supposed to?
Well, yes. What he's saying is, look, if you're going to play this track right next to something that's been mastered by the best guy in the world with the best equipment in the world, the amount of compression and pump and the RMS levels of that track are going to be really quite loud. Now, if you're playing all stem material, it might not matter so much, but I think the real issue is when you're bouncing between them, and maybe you play a fully mastered track that's just huge, and then you play a stem track that maybe went through this compressor. I'm wondering, in your experience, because this is the reality, like, how did it sound in the club?
Very good question. Well, the thing is, from my experience, okay, if I play a WAV file very well mastered, and I'll play it on the left channel, for instance, and that's pumping the club, okay, everything's sounding really great. If I play a stems track next to it, the actual stems track sounds better. I actually have to turn the gain volume down a little bit, which is really bizarre but true. I didn't believe it to begin with, but it's a really good point, because what you don't want is your amazingly mastered track sound lesser in stems than it would do by a normal 2-track, which would be a shame. But what it is with the stems, because you are basically grouping certain elements out of the original 2-track and separating those parts, it's a separate part. So if it's a bass line, all you're getting is that mastered bass line, which sounds much better than the one that's covered on a 2-track and then compressed and mastered as a whole as one. All you've got is that bass line on its own, and you put that bass line with a kick drum, then you're just working with 2 elements of something which is mastered in stems on separate channels. So already it's sounding amazing, and if you then put the percussion on that, which is from the same master format, and the vocals on that. So it actually does sound better. It breathes better. The actual music within stems, in the sense of its frequencies, actually breathe better. It sounds better. I didn't believe it, but it actually does. I actually had to turn it down a little bit while I'm playing stems in stems format. But it would sound obviously better, and if you are going to do this, to make sure that they are mastered very, very well, because your track will then come across better. So if you're going to give something in stems format which is really rubbish, and it's going to sound rubbish basically, so that hopefully you just don't do that. But on my experience, it's a good question. It's it has a level of a quality which is, from a master point of view, which actually from when the tracks are separated, sounds better.
Ronnie to add, Ronnie.
I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. I'm just a user. That's it. Okay, I'm not gonna, just a user. Was that the next question? How much? I'll talk to you outside about that.
Well, there's basically, I mean, the one thing that we encourage labels to do is basically get the mastering for this done at the original mastering process. So when, as an artist, when you give your 2-track bounce, whatever, to your record label, the regular WAV file, you also give them the 4 stem elements for the original mastering process, and then Stefan Müller, or whoever you said, can run all of this through his expensive equipment and gear, and in the end you'll even get a better mastering, because I've been working with lots of record labels and artists as well, and we always did stem mastering, because even the stereo file will sound a lot better if your mastering engineer has actually access to those individual groups, because the type of mastering that they can do with being able to have access to the individual groups is a lot better, and most of the times the original 2-track, the WAV file or whatever, will also sound better. So as a label, if you're interested, as a producer, if you're interested to release stem files, make sure in the original mastering process you already get your stem mastering done. And if the stems are mastered and you have those individual files, all you basically do is the final glue, that final boost in the end with the compressor and limiter. And to be honest, in all the testing we've done, and also from the files that I checked myself, there really isn't a big difference that anyone noticed between a $12,000 Menley compressor or what the Stem Creator tool can do. But it's important that the stem groups that you put in the Stem Creator tool already sound good. If you have an expensive stereo master and you have unmastered artist bounces for the stem groups and you try to use the Stem Creator tool and make them sound the same, not going to work.
Cool. Does that answer your question, Ian?
Well, when you guys A/B your releases, because you did releases.
Microphone, please. Sorry.
So when you guys are A/B-ing your releases, did you find that to be true? I'm sure you listened to the original masters, and then you went back and did it in the stem tool. Were you happy with the results of how they sounded?
Yeah, we've been very happy with the stems, with the mastering. But to be honest, all the first stem parts that we sold have been mastered or created by Native, and we didn't do it on our own. So, so I can't say anything bad about that. They were perfect. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Next question. Okay. Mesmerized. That's okay. You can be mesmerized. That's cool. Okay. On the subject of challenges, you know, we talked a little bit about copyright. We talked a little bit about workflow. What other challenges have you seen or experienced or heard with the adoption of the stems format?
I'm just thinking about, so we had one artist and he said, no, I don't want to have my track out on stems. And we asked, why, what's the problem? And he said, I don't like that everyone can listen how I work. So, because you got these 4 single stems, and it's a little bit easier to understand how maybe the producer works, and yeah, maybe to copy him, or I don't know. But yeah, that was a problem that we had once with one artist. Yeah.
Okay. And what was your response?
Yeah, of course we said, okay, it's your decision, then we don't do that. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah. Let's go. Oh.
My challenge has just been with the hardware. I'm curious.
In what respect?
I just find the S8s and the SD2s to be a bit large for me, for the club. I do prefer the X1s in terms of their small format, and you really do need the S8. The S8's a great stem controller. Like if you're running stems and you have all those faders, it's phenomenal. But it's a bit large. How has it been for you taking that into the clubs?
Yeah, I've had no problem really, because my original setup was four Pioneers with the Pioneer mixer in the middle, which is actually wider than when I have the original setup now, as two players and the mixer. It's you can make room for what you need to use, in the end of the day. But one of the reasons why I like the S8, it's all as one. The sound card is in there. What you need to use is all on there. You don't need to bring anything extra, no excess of any more extra leads or anything else. It's a one-stop shop basically mixer, and I have to tell you, it took me a while to come off of the mixers I was using before, and then to believe in that this is the next step, because a lot of people didn't think that I was true to myself when I was using this mixer, based on my decision to start using the S8. A lot of poor people thought it was monetary as the reason why, and I have to tell you, it's not monetary at all or anything. It's actually a very good thing to use if you want to be creative in the way that we are, and what we believe in, what the future lies in producing and mixing and being a prolific DJ. That this enables you to be that person very, very quickly, very easily, if you're into it, and I'm into it. So it was about a year and a half ago when I first used it, and people was thinking that I would only use it for about a month, and then I go back to the original mixer that I was using before, and they're quite shocked to see that I'm still using the S8, even more so now than ever before. I'm now with the stems format. I can't use another mixer. I need to use that. Otherwise, there's no show from what I like to use or what I do. If I use another mixer, I feel like I've got one arm tied behind my back now because I'm not able to play stems on anything else. So it's really amazing that we're having this discussion about something so forward thinking, because it's given me another dimension, another element to my creativity as a DJ. And it's interesting to hear about the mastering as well, because I think it's really important. One of my only things about using stems is because all the music that I'm using at the moment from stems point of view is not music that I've particularly made. So I'm actually using someone else's arrangements. So can you imagine when I'm pulling the bass line down or whatever, and I'm thinking, well, I would put a bass line down and it isn't there. I go, put it back up again and it's not there, and I'm thinking, well, it's going to be there in a minute. Boom, and it comes out, I go, oh, there you go. So you have to get used to that, because you never made the track. If I made the track, I know where everything is. So you have to, that's one thing about stems, you have to know where things are. Yes, you can see more or less where your files are coming and something's going to happen, but it's been a few times before, and I'm thinking there should be a vocal on there, and it's like nothing. Oh no, okay, back up again. I think, okay. So there's been a few instances where I've had that, but it actually makes it quite fun. They're called happy accidents, and if there is something there, woohoo! All right, loop that, okay, and get on with something else. So
I'm sure your crowd are happy with Carl Cox's silence anyway, though.
Yeah, I do get away with that.
So obviously this has blurred the line between DJing and performance, right? So do you think that the concept of DJing has changed forever because of the stems format?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed forever. I think it's just another way of being a DJ and basically pushing the envelope of creativity. I think it's, if you're able to mix on two turntables, and then you're able to mix on CD players, now you're able to mix on Traktor, now you're able to mix on stems. It's just a progression of being a DJ. And I've gone through all of these different elements. So I'm quite happy to be able to be at the forefront of where we are with stems, but it's just another way of producing your music as a DJ.
Cool. Okay. Question at the two questions. Hey, keep them coming. That's great. Wait for the microphone, please. Go for it.
I can imagine as a DJ you now have your bag of 1,000 stems tracks and a bag of the, I could say, current format. Let's call it old format. How do you use that in live performance? Do you switch phases using stems and then the old format, or do you mix them in between?
So let me ask, Ian first, and then, you've got the mic.
Well, right now I'm kind of cheating. I'm bouncing my stems down into an instrumental, which becomes a stereo file. So I'm mixing between stereo files that I've pre-mixed in a way that I want. So I'll bounce somebody's stems down, maybe apply some mastering, maybe add a bit of my own production on top. So I have sort of a custom instrumental, and then I mix in stereo. I'm not actually doing blending of stems on stage right now, but that's mainly because of the controller issue.
Carl?
Yeah, the way I'm working it is that I always start off my set with the 2 tracks. So all the latest records or records I've been playing over the year, I kind of get comfortable and the crowd get comfortable. And then eventually I'll start working onto stems, because once you're locked into the stems, you're in it. You can't go in and out and in and out. You basically have all your new record stems that you've downloaded that you want to play and get to eventually. I found myself within a 4 or 5 hour set that I've played 2 or 3 hours of a stem set. So I do an hour stem set, another hour 2 track, another hour stem set, that kind of way. So I'll kind of go in and out of it. It's quite encompassing in the sense of your mind of where you're at. When you're playing stems, it's another story. You can't just play it willy-nilly. You need to know, focus, and understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. And that's what's really good. It makes you think about what you're doing. And when you're in stems, when you're playing 2 track, you just go, okay, bang, that's a big record, I'll play that. Bang, that's another one, big record, I'll play that. And that's fine. But when you're in stems, it's creative. So when your mind is ready for that, and then once you get into it, and then that's where it starts to work. So that's the way I work it.
Cool. How does this go, guys?
So we don't play stems at the moment, but I think we will in the future. But we have to change our setup then, and but it's very interesting, and I think we will change to them as well. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Cool. Question behind.
Hi everyone. First of all, I want to take this chance before I ask the question for Carl for inspiring me for making music, and I want to take it personally. And my question is, when using stems, how is it in the comparison to IF when saving it on your hard disk? How many space use it?
Oh, okay, cool. Ronnie, maybe you're the best person to ask that question.
Well, basically, technically, you can do 2 types of stem files. You can do a compressed version and you can do an uncompressed version. All of the files that you can currently purchase on the retail stores have the compressed version, which is basically the highest, the best possible quality in a compressed format. Those stem files are pretty much exactly as big as a WAV file of that track would be. But you can technically, if you're using the stem creator tool, you can create an uncompressed version of the track, which is basically 5 times the WAV file. It's just difficult in any kind of infrastructural sense, talking to distributors, having gigantic, huge additional libraries to carry, download stores, it's not very practical to do. So if you play your own production, you can very well do an uncompressed ALEC version of your file format, and then it's 5 times the uncompressed WAV size. But like I said, usually the standard stem file that you can currently purchase is about the size of a WAV file.
Cool. Question. Couple more questions?
When you purchase a stem track online, and for example you have a vocal or a percussion or something that very inspires you in a creativity that you want to use in your own production, and you want to play it in your sets, what are the legal terms for that?
It's the same as if you would take another sample. So generally, all of this stuff has already been happening in the past. There's like anyone who's popular, anyone who has a successful track out there, you are getting bootlegged. There's a ton of remixes that you can find on SoundCloud or everywhere of every kind of popular track. And they're mostly illegal because what people don't do is they don't ask for the permission. If you buy a stem file, you have access to the files and you can perform with it, but by no means do you get any rights granted to use them in your own commercial productions. So as soon as you want to use them in any commercial sense for your own productions, you will have to license them. So the same thing you would do with a 2-second sample of the vocal or the entire vocal, you'd have to do with stems. You'd go back to the original rights holders and you'd ask them if you'd be allowed to use the file. Now it might be easier for you to play around with it in your studio environment and actually create something first so you get an idea and then go back and license it. But if you want to do anything commercially with it, you'll have to ask for the permission and you have to get the deal in place.
Nice one. Cool. So before we conclude, I wanted to ask everyone on the panel, so what would you like to see next for stems? Now it's in the ether, it's been around since August. What would you like to see next? I'll leave you to last because you kind of know shit anyway.
Well, for me, I would really hope that Pioneer gets on board, because I'm still DJing with CDJs, and I really like DJing with CDJs, and really hope that they're, I don't know what, if they are going to get on board, or if there's any talk about it, but I think that will be my next thing.
Gosh, I hope that a lot more music comes out in it. That's the bottom line. We need good tracks. You know, there's 1,000 releases. I checked the other day, about 20 per day seem to be coming out every day, which is a decent amount, but it's going to get tough for Carl to build out his whole sets with stems. It's tough for someone who's got a maybe little micro-genre taste that they need to accommodate. So more music. That's what I really hope.
Yeah, and I agree with both of you. I think in the stems history, that it becomes more available in a sense of content. I need more stems. I need them. I need more stems, please. Come on, please.
Yes, of course, more stems. And for me, maybe, but maybe I have to get used to it, maybe a smaller controller as well. That's nice to travel around.
Yeah, same from my side.
I think from a distribution perspective, it's really interesting to just, and I have no idea where the future is going to be brought by stems, but in the, if in fact, you know, the consumption behavior would change somewhat due to this, and that would have, you know, a domino effect on the production behavior, or the other way around. You know, I'm just, I guess, interested to see what kind of effect that's going to have on the other creative process that has to do with music itself, you know, because when something new is introduced, it always makes, it gives a domino effect of changes that you haven't foreseen or expected. And people in the music industry are always saying that something is going a certain direction, you know, and it appears that then production or consumption or the visibility of retail and the support on that side also all changes in a reaction to that. So I don't know, I'm just curious, interested, yeah.
Being curious about the future is a good place to be. On that note, give it up for our panel, everyone.